Good morning and welcome to Real Estate Radio Denver, the most informative hour of radio every Saturday right here on News Talk 710 KNUS. I'm your host, Tom Souther. Thank you so much for joining us. As you know, Real Estate Radio Denver is dedicated to building Denver's housing market. We're here to give you some great advice, help you with connecting with some true experts, whether that's buying a home, selling a home, refinancing, dealing with maybe a credit issue. Today, we're have a new topic for you, and we're going to talk a little bit about investing. And I've got a great guest, expert in that field, and we're going to help you out, maybe understand your 401k a little bit, maybe some other places you can go. So we're here to give you some great advice. I want to remind you, you can always reach the show off air, leave us a message or a text message. You can do that at 720-515-1818, 720-515-1818. I would love to put you together with any of my guests or myself. As you know, I'm a mortgage professional. I am with Citywide Home Loans, and we really pride ourselves in getting that loan done for you, whether that's a purchase transaction or refinance, whatever it is that you're really needing. So within every market, there are some solutions and just tremendous opportunities. You need some trusted advice. That's what you'll hear every Saturday from 9 to 10 a.m. right here on News Talk 710 KNUS. So today, I wanted to start. First off, I'm going to introduce my guest because I want to talk a little bit, help you a little bit to understand why now is just such a great time to buy. I want to spend that first segment on that topic. I seem to beat that into the ground, but man, I feel very passionate about the marketplace is really right. The best time to buy would have been 6 months ago or a month ago or a year ago, but unfortunately the time machine's broken. So other than that, right now, I feel is probably the best time for you to buy. So let me introduce my guest. He's going to be here for the whole show, and I'm excited to have him. I have Erik Utzinger. Erik is a financial advisor with Transamerica Financial Advisors, and been in the business a long time, about 12 years.
Yeah,
Erik?
12 years, running the branch for 8 years.
And branch manager, you got a nice staff going on. We're going to get to that in a minute, but I thought I'd throw in Erik in case he's got some sage advice on this topic of get out of your rental. You know, and I'm animated about this because I feel so strongly that the market is there's no time like right now to make this happen. I truly believe rates are back into a little bit of a low spot. At some point, the federal government printing press printing that $85 billion a month is going to come to a screeching halt. Wouldn't you agree with that, Erik?
Yeah, absolutely. And really with the steps that the Fed is taking right now, there's a new nomination of a Fed president coming up, so who knows what the future holds. Yeah,
and she seems to be agreeable to continuing that stimulus for a while until the numbers say to not do it any longer, but we don't know what that really is. Is that a month? Is it 6 months? Is it a year? But I truly believe that rates are going to trend up more than they're going to trend down, and that pricing in Denver, at least, is going to trend up more than it's going to trend down. We don't seem to see any real decline in demand in the marketplace. There's still a shortage of homes to buy, but they're out there. So I wanted to just run through a couple of examples in this rest of the segment so that maybe you get a better understanding. And I want to do this. I'm going to offer this. If you text me the word rent and include what your rent is, $800, $1,000, $1,500, $2,000, whatever that is, I'll send you a little analysis on what that would mean in mortgage payment, and be glad to give you some advice as to what that would buy you, what that rent payment would buy you. But let me give you a couple examples of recent deals I've closed. Here's a great little home purchased by a young woman. Her name's Amanda, that we closed last month. She bought a $99,500 small home in Lakewood. You know, and most people think, oh, you can't buy a home for $100,000. Well, here's one right in my hand that Amanda purchased. She had a fantastic real estate agent that got this done for her. I would be happy to get you in touch with an agent that can put you into that market. And she searched for a while to find this price range. But, this is how this transaction worked out. She used FHA money, and she used the Mortgage Metro Assistance Plus program. It's a down payment assistance program. So I'm going to tell you she had a total of about $975 out of pocket to close this transaction. Like I said, $99,500 purchase price. Her rate in that down payment assistance program is a little higher than the base normal rate would be, 4.875, but that's still a world-class rate in the grand scheme of things. Principal and interest at about $517. She's got taxes, insurance, mortgage insurance. Her total payment comes in at $770 a month for a cute little 2-bedroom home, single-family home in Lakewood. Nice yard, fenced, dogs good in the backyard. APR on that 6.645 once you put in the FHA mortgage insurance. But I challenge you to find a rental at $770. This is what the message I want to get across. Now is the time. You can find deals like that. Here's another one. Ken and Betty. Ken is a veteran. I honor his service. He purchased a $191,000 loan in a VA mortgage. He had a total of about $175 out of pocket to close this transaction as a veteran. I love doing loans for veterans. I really would just love to help you with that. Here's the details. He paid $191,000 for a beautiful home, 1 year old, virtually new construction in Denver, 3 bedrooms, nice yard, beautiful, brand new home. Payment $1,060, $959 in principal and interest, and then about $100 in taxes and insurance, to a total of $1,060. APR 4.579, and literally less than $200 out of his pocket. So we're going to come back and we're going to talk about investing. These are just a couple of ideas. Please text me rent 720-515-1818. We'll be right back. Welcome back to Real Estate Radio Denver. I'm your host, Tom Souther, and we are helping you to get off the fence. If you're renting, if your kids are renting, if somebody's renting that man, send them to the website and have them listen to this thing, realestateradiodenver.com, because you need to stop renting. And now is the time. I wanted to give you one more example of a great purchase transaction that I just closed. There's so many ways to do these, and there's so much help that I want to make sure you fully understand that you very well may be able to buy. Don't let anybody tell you you've got to have 20% down, you got to have $10,000 or $5,000. I'm closing deals with a couple $100 or $1,000 or $1,500. Or if you happen to have 3% or 3.5% or 5% of the purchase price, even better. But don't let not having a big down payment stop you from perhaps making your life better. Again, I want to give you the off-air number. You can call in. I encourage you to text me just the word rent with the amount of rent you have, and I will send you an analysis of what that rent would equate to in a home purchase. $175,000 or $100,000 or $500,000 or whatever that is, so that maybe you can put that into perspective, and we can set you up with a home search tool that will let you keep in charge of the market or aware of the market that you want to look for homes in. I can set you up with a fantastic real estate agent. We've had just 100 of them on the air here with us. Many of them are very good. All of them are very good, quite honestly. And they work different areas, so different ones work better for different people. So again, that number is 720-515-1818, 720-515-1818. Either text me the word rent with how much your rent is, or leave me a voice message saying, hey, Tom, my rent is $1,500 a month or $1,200 or $1,000 or whatever that number is, and we'll start that discussion and see if it makes sense for you. No pressure, but I think this is a great time to make that decision to chase the American dream, and I'd love to help you with that. We're here. I'm with Citywide Home Loans. We do loans for a living, and I want to help you and give you that fantastic experience in making that happen. Let me give you one more example. This is a little home that purchased by customer Sam and Jody. They bought in Denver. Again, a nice little home. It's, and none of these are giant. I mean, we're not talking Cherry Hills here. These are very good basic homes in good neighborhoods. Some of them are, in city. Some, the last one was in Lakewood. Here's one in Denver. It was in Green Valley Ranch. The last one I did that was the VA home with a payment of about just over $1,000. This one is in Denver Central. A small home. It's $181,500, but a nice little starter home in Denver in a neighborhood that's going to go crazy over the next 3 or 4 or 5 years, I think. Got them a great rate. We just locked this thing at 3.75%. That rate may be a little higher than that now. They fluctuate every day. Their APR 5.419 once you put in all of the mortgage insurance and all that other stuff that we have to calculate over the life of the loan. Again, $181,500 purchase. Their total payment $1,168 with a principal and interest of $825. The rest is mortgage insurance, taxes, and insurance. So a total payment of $1,168. So under $1,200, you can barely rent a 2-bedroom apartment for that. And these guys had the 3.5% for FHA financing, so they put about $6,500 into the transaction, $6,350. But again, $1,200.
Yeah.
I mean, you cannot argue with that. And I could have done this loan with down payment assistance, and they could have had literally zero into the transaction, or $1,000 or $500. So again, I want to give you our offer, our number, and I want to just encourage you, send me a message or a text just with what's your rent? Text me the word rent, send me a message saying, Tom, I'm renting at $1,000 a month. What could I buy and come out about the same? And when you look at tax savings and tax advantages, it's really phenomenal. That number is 720-515-1818, 720-515-1818. And either I or one of my team members will get back to you to help you with that process. So I'm going to get off of that soapbox, but man, now is the time. And I'm going to go back to our guest. I want to reintroduce, I have Erik Utzinger with me. Erik is a financial advisor with Transamerica Financial Advisors, Inc., and he's also a branch manager and been in the business about 12 years. He's helped loads of customers reach their financial dreams and goals. Erik, welcome back.
Thank you. Thanks for having me on.
Do you have anything to add to this exciting rent? Don't just stop renting.
It's awesome when people make the decision to make appropriate, prudent financial decisions for themselves and their families and their livelihood and their future. It's always a win-win. So it's great when they can get in and make those choices.
Yeah, I totally agree. And when you throw in what the tax advantages on, this mortgage payment that $500, somewhere between, I'm not even going to go there, but a large portion of it tax deductible. And then if you're a first-time home buyer, we'll throw in, if you qualify, which many, many, many do, a mortgage credit certificate, which is typically saving my customers somewhere between $1,500 and $2,000 a year directly off their taxes. It is just a complete no-brainer.
Yeah, when you factor in that cost of money that in the current environment that we're in, it's awesome.
It's free money. It's really free money. So anyway, off of that, Erik.
Yes, sir.
Tell me about your background. Tell me about Transamerica. Tell me about your office so that we can get this thing rolling.
Yeah, definitely. Like I said, been with Transamerica for 12 years now. I've run a branch for 8 of those years. Started in financial services right after getting out of school, and it's been a great time since the beginning.
It's a long road.
It is a long road.
Lots of customers in that time frame, and lots of people to help.
Yeah,
which I to me, is why I do this mortgage gig.
Yeah, it's amazing when you can sit down with somebody and help them further their situation and really help to develop what their overall picture, what their position is.
Yeah, and we don't want to give anybody the impression that this is an overnight process. Nobody gets wealthy, and I won't use the rich term, but wealthy in a week.
Yeah, there's no magic pill.
It's a long-term plan that you work out with your customers that gets them there over time. And we don't want to, there is no get-rich-quick scheme that I'm aware of. It's what do you do every month, and this is what you will help your customers with. What do you do every month to reach that goal 5 years, 10 years, 30 years from now, whatever that is. The longer you have, obviously, the easier it is.
Yep.
So, the big thing that I think most people have in their financial picture is that company-sponsored 401k or employer-sponsored 401k or some other retirement plan. That's typically the main vehicle. How do you integrate that, or what do you tell people about that piece of their puzzle?
Yeah, absolutely. And it's really depending upon who your employer is or what sector that you are for an employee. There's 403B plans, teachers, nonprofits, which are going to work very similar to a 401k, 457 plans that are available to police officers, firefighters. So whatever your actual company-sponsored plan is, it's just really getting out there and providing education for folks as far as what role that plays in your overall financial picture. And really just, basically as a society, we've moved from a pension plan system, if you will,
right,
to more of a defined contribution system, which is putting the responsibility on the part of the actual employee to take care of their own personal retirement as they get down the road. So,
yeah, that defined pension plan is pretty rare to find these days. There's a few companies out there that are still offering some, quote, fixed retirement, but that's really not how it works any longer.
No.
You have to take that initiative and save something all the time. Company match. Let's talk about that.
Sure.
How important is that in making a decision on what you do with that company plan, whether that's a 401k or any of the others that you mentioned? They're all kind of similar.
Yeah, absolutely. There's a couple different factors. Company match definitely is one of those. Really kind of a standard in the industry anymore is 100% of the first 3% is a pretty average. If you have over and above that, that's gravy. Congratulations, you're off to the races. Another factor to take a look at is fees associated with those plans as well, as what your vesting schedule is. So, you can have the greatest match in the world, but if you don't plan to be there for a long tenure, that vesting schedule will definitely come into play.
Yep. So I understand there's some recent changes coming out that's going to affect that decision on what you put into your 401k or what have you?
Yeah. There was actually the American Taxpayer Relief Act of 2012. When that was passed, it did a couple of things. One is that it broadened the availability for something called a Roth 401k, which is just a different way that you can go ahead and participate in your company-sponsored plan. It also provided greater regulation for fee disclosure. For a long time, company-sponsored plans have come under some degree of scrutiny as far as exactly what the fees are, that they're not very transparent. It's hard to find out exact information as far as what your proportionate share of those fees are if you're a participant. And, in the last 12 to 18 months, there's been a greater push for really getting that notice out to the individual employee, that participant, as far as making sure that they're making the correct decisions as far as how much they should be putting away in that plan, or if there's better vehicles somewhere else.
And that's a great piece that, as I've invested over my lifetime in pension plans or 401k plans throughout my several employers, it's always been difficult to know what truly any rate of return is on those things. So I'm excited that there's now, hopefully people are getting a true disclosure on what that is. So one of the things that you do for your customers is you do an analysis on that, rate of return document. So tell us about that.
Yeah, one of the pieces that had come out, all 401k, or the vast majority of plans, are regulated by the Department of Labor. So when they put in place these regulations, there's a particular document that plan participants are supposed to be receiving nowadays, at least on an annual basis, and it's called a 404A5 notice, which is basically an outline of the total fees that are associated with the plan, as well as a range of fees for the particular investments that somebody can go into. And really with those dozen data points, we can put together what's called a personal expense ratio for somebody when we sit down with them and get a better assessment as far as, how does your plan stack up? Are you, in the lower sides from a fee standpoint, or are you possibly not? Are you paying some additional fees for it? So,
sure, and I'm sure that analysis is going to take into account you may have higher fees, higher return. There's some balance in this.
Yeah, we always take a look as far as what a risk-adjusted return is for somebody. Kind of that old adage of greater risk, greater return.
Sure.
You got to kind of weigh as far as what the pros and cons are there, as far as really taking a look at, and it's an actual measurement for a fund itself as far as what that RAR is.
Okay. You're listening to Real Estate Radio Denver here on News Talk 710 KNUS. I have with me Erik Utzinger with Transamerica Financial Advisors. I would love to put you together with Erik, and he would provide you with that expense ratio analysis on your investment account. And that will help you to decide, am I in the right funds? Am I doing the right things? And I would like to offer that to you. Erik, give us your phone number real quick so people can reach out to you directly.
Sure. Branch office number is 303-586-5856.
And please tell Erik that you heard him here on Real Estate Radio Denver. We're going to come right back and give you some options on what you might be able to do with that money in your account. Thanks. Welcome back to Real Estate Radio Denver. I'm your host, Tom Souther, and today we've got a little bit of a sideline here. Instead of talking about what's going on in the real estate market, we're going to help you with maybe a little bit of investing, or what do you do with your 401k? Maybe it's time to make that, to move that thing around a little bit and get something other than what your employer, your captive, that keeps you captive in that plan. And there's some options in making that happen and getting, maybe a little more flexibility, or a little better investment strategy than just figuring out by yourself. Mm-hmm. I think I've fallen into that where I try to pick investments in my 401k, and I'm throwing a dart at the dartboard. I've got no true expertise and knowledge in this industry. So I have a true expert with me. I have Erik Utzinger. He is with Transamerica Financial Advisors, runs one of their branches down in Greenwood Village. Mm-hmm. And Erik, welcome back.
Thank you.
And Erik is a 12-year veteran of the financial investment advice industry. Mm-hmm. And we were talking before, we were sharing before the break about just different options in IRAs. And I'd like to go in 401ks rather. IRAs kind of work similarly, I'm assuming, and we'd love to set you up if you've got money to move around. I think, let's throw that out there. Sure. Leaving it in and this is off the reservation a little bit, but sure, leaving it in your company plan if you change companies. People have money that maybe they've not done anything with when they've left an employer, and they've just let it sit there in that employer's plan. Is that a good idea? I personally, to me, I want to take control of that money a little better. Yeah. What are their options?
When somebody gets involved with their company sponsored plan, there's a couple key documents that I always encourage folks to become familiar with their plan. One of those is called the summary plan document, and really what that does, it outlines the actual description of the plan, what can't be done, and it also identifies if you sever employment with that company, what changes could occur inside of the plan if you do leave your funds with that employer or with that company-sponsored plan.
Right.
So depending upon how the plan is set up, they could have either an increase in fees that as you are currently an employee, they are paying or at least offsetting a portion of those fees. Well, if you're no longer an employee, they are obviously less vested in making sure that you're contributing to that plan, or exactly what the future possibly might be with those investments as far as what they'd be offsetting.
Interesting. I didn't realize that when you left an organization, they may be covering some of those fees for their employees. That would totally change your investing landscape once you're gone.
Yeah, definitely. And you mentioned IRAs, you brought that up. Typically when somebody leaves, we'll sit down with folks and they have a handful of previous 401ks or company-sponsored plans that are able to be consolidated. Sometimes you can reduce the fee structure with inside of that consolidation, just almost like a volume discount approach, if you will. Also provides greater flexibility for where you can place those funds.
Awesome. One of the things that I've seen lately in my company plan, they rolled out a Roth option, and maybe a little discussion on that. That was, I know, is a confusing choice for many people.
Sure.
And what the difference is, is it really better to put money into a 401k, your regular 401k? Is it better to put it in a Roth? Let's talk about that for a minute.
Yeah.
And the differences.
I would say to a large extent it depends upon a couple of factors. One, what their current tax situation looks like. Sure. I always encourage folks to work with their tax advisor, somebody who's been familiar with their background. Another big aspect is where you anticipate tax rates to go. So that's always a interesting subject to have some with somebody.
Yes, it is.
So depending upon what age you're in, if you're 30 years old and you're putting away funds versus if you're 60 years old and you're closer towards needing those funds for retirement income, those are going to be two big factors to really take a look at. Basically, a Roth 401k, it's almost a hybrid of your Roth IRA, which has been around for a number of years, and a traditional 401k plan, in that you're still allowed to make payroll contributions. However, it's just the nature in which those are taxed. You don't get to take a current year tax deduction in a Roth 401k plan. However, a number of folks, there's limitations to even being able to contribute to a Roth IRA from an income standpoint.
Yes.
So that's a big factor, is that folks that have never had the opportunity because of their income bracket to participate in a Roth IRA, this gives them the flexibility to still be able to put away that money in that tax manner.
So my understanding that Roth, you pay tax on your initial, it's taxed as income as any income would be, versus that regular 401k deduction, which reduces your taxable, pushes that taxability of that money out further. But then in that Roth, any income, any growth realized within that Roth fund is tax-free.
Correct.
So, it's pushing the ball down the road. Do you think taxes are going to be more later or less now? The theory on 401ks, in my experience, has been, put money in there now because you're going to be taxed at a lower rate later on in life. I'm not sure I buy that theory any longer. And, we're getting into gray area here and opinion, but, that changes the landscape of how you make that decision.
Yeah.
And that's what you provide in that service is, a discussion of where you are now, what do you feel your income's going to be later on, so you can make a somewhat educated guess as to where you're going to be and which is the better way to go. Yeah,
it's always appropriate to realize what the tax implications are going to be for the decisions that you're making currently, as well as what's going to go on down the road, and just provide greater flexibility as far as making sure that you've got a little bit in each bucket from a tax standpoint, as well as an overall asset standpoint.
Yeah, exactly. I think a little diversification is a good thing. So let's just say you've got a pile of money in a company-sponsored 401k plan or Roth or what have you. My understanding is now there are some options that you may be able to self-direct that or move that money around where you can manage it more effectively, more options than within that company-defined plan. Is that the case?
Sure. One of those pieces that has come up as of recently is that the Department of Labor, again, who regulates a lot of these company-sponsored plans, has been looking at how restrictive those plans are. Versus allowing employees opportunities, more choices is basically the name of the game anymore. So in those, and again, a lot of those can be found in either the summary plan document or that annual notice that you should be receiving. And definitely if you've not received it, or this sounds like a foreign concept, or you don't recall getting one of those, definitely you can contact either your custodian or HR, and they should be able to provide one of those for you.
And again, what's the name of that document?
summary plan document.
Summary plan document. Yeah, and I get mail constantly on these things, and it's gibberish. Quite honestly, not truly gibberish, but I got to think 90% of the world out there just looks at that thing and it either goes in a file or it goes in the round file. So having an expert who can help you put those together and decide, gosh, I may be able to manage that better outside of the plan than inside the plan.
Yeah, there's two main options that plans are adopting more and more these days. One of them is called a self-directed option, which provides the participant greater flexibility as far as the investment choices. Let's say, we sit down with somebody and the current fund lineup that is kind of the default isn't quite meeting their needs or the objectives that that individual might have. It allows them to have greater flexibility as far as what those investment choices are. It allows a investment advisor representative such as myself to be able to come in or be able to match up a employee with a separate basket of investments, if you will, to be able to diversify that portfolio, a lot of times at a lower fee structure.
And typically, I think you mentioned there's a kind of a balance threshold that would typically trigger you be able to self-direct?
Yeah, most of those plans are going to put a benchmark at $20,000 to be able to use a self-directed option. That's kind of a general rule of thumb, if you will. Another piece that's currently being adopted a fair amount is an in-service non-hardship withdrawal, which if you obviously break it down as a fancy way of saying while you're still employed with the company, you don't have a hardship, which you can take distributions for. Right. It basically allows you to roll out a portion of that employer-sponsored plan and diversify the overall investments within inside of it.
You're listening to Real Estate Radio Denver. We're going to come back in just a minute and give you a little more information on that option. I want to encourage you to give us a call, leave us a message, 720-515-1818. Let me put you together with Erik. We'll be right back. Welcome back to Real Estate Radio Denver. I'm your host, Tom Souther. I have with me Erik Utzinger. Erik is an investment advisor with Transamerica Financial Advisors. Erik also runs one of their branches here in the Tech Center. And pretty significant level of experience here. Erik's been managing money for 12 years. And we were talking about, we're just helping you with a little information about 401k, everybody's and company-sponsored plans, what some of your options are, because sometimes that just sits there for decades. And, I think it was pointed out to us over on the break that maybe people are a little scared to touch that money. They're advised to leave it there forever. And maybe that's not the best advice. If you stay with a company for 100 years for your entire career, which is fairly rare anymore, they don't realize they have options. So one of the things you talked about, we were sharing with you before the break, was that concept of non-hardship withdrawal. Those plans have always had a means for you to maybe pull out a little money in a significant hardship. But this non-hardship withdrawal is fairly new. Is that
It's fairly new. I mean, it's been around for a little while. However, more and more companies are starting to adopt it, which just basically means that it's allowed for those particular employees.
So that will allow you to, as an account owner, to take some portion of your savings out and then be able to take control of directing what you do with that money.
Yeah, especially for the vast majority of folks, their employer-sponsored plan is, of course, a large piece of their overall retirement strategy. And it just allows for greater diversification even outside of the plan. You always want to try to keep an eye on exactly the moving components. And unfortunately, a lot of folks have kind of fallen into the rut where they start with an employer, they sign up for the plan, and they set their default percentage that they're putting away every month, and they don't look at it again.
Yeah, so goes in a drawer. Well, and again, I want to go back to your offer on that personal expense ratio document that we would love to give people the opportunity for you to take a look at to see, are the fees and what you pay for that plan, that company-sponsored plan, are they reasonable? Can we do a better job, and does it make sense to do one of these withdrawals and manage that money separately?
Yeah.
So, Erik, again, let's give out your phone number, how people can get a hold of you to make that happen, to do that assessment, and that's a no fee. You're happy to sit down with someone and have a conversation about, does this make sense for you?
Sure.
Give us that number.
Branch number 303-586-5856.
And I encourage you, please tell them that you heard the show on Real Estate Radio Denver and would like to have that analysis made. Or I'm going to give you out the show number again because there's a couple of things we've mentioned during the show. 720-515-1818, 720-515-1818. I will put you together with Erik Utzinger with Transamerica Financial Advisors. Just send me a text or a voice message saying that you would like to get some more information on options for your investments, and we'll put you together with Erik. So, Erik, one of the things we were on this withdrawal that I just want to emphasize again is you have options. Don't necessarily drink the Kool-Aid that you can't move that money around. Mm-hmm. You very well may be able to. So, make that call and find out if that's an option for you.
Yeah. Yep.
One of the things we also wanted to help people with, because I know we have a number of employers that listen to the show, and there's so many changes in the industry. If you have a plan that you're providing for your employees, you need to look at that plan fairly regularly.
Yeah, has to be reviewed on an annual basis as, again, regulated by the Department of Labor. Part of the 408B2 rules is that you have to do certain functions as a fiduciary on an annual basis.
And there are so many new pieces and parts to these plans. There's just significant new improvements. I mean, we talked about some of them, Roth, other pieces that you can add to your plan that I think add significant value for your employees. Yeah,
and really it's, like I said, all about providing more options for those employees. That's kind of the big mantra moving forward that's started about 12, 18 months ago. There's actually a rather large fund company custodian that currently had a class action lawsuit started by some employees about, I think it's been 6 weeks now, against the provider because they provided a lack of options is basically the claim of the lawsuit, which is kind of an interesting commentary as far as the need and making sure that you're aware, especially if you are a plan sponsor or you are an employer, and at least in part for making those decisions in regard to the plan. Right, and this is a large, we aren't going to mention names, but a large financial advisor company that isn't providing the same level of options and service that they would provide their customers, that they were providing the same retirement services for. And I don't know how that happens. Yeah. It's just wrong. So that is something that you do for your employer customers in providing that plan level assessment on an annual basis. And that's something, again, you want to offer for free for our listeners. To call in, tell them what they need to do. Yeah, for really the employer, one of the pieces from a fiduciary responsibility, they have to look at fees associated with the plan and how their plan measures up to other plans of similar size, of similar assets. And it's a plan comparison tool. It's basically that we run for somebody. And it does just that. It breaks down basically what the fees are, what the additional administrative costs, which are also a large component associated with any kind of plan, and just gives them a benchmark. They tuck that away in their files as part of their annual due diligence and record keeping that they need to maintain to have a compliant plan. And, if we can provide services for them, great. And if they're off to the races and they have a good plan, then all the better. Yeah. And that also keeps the lawyers off your back as well. If your employees come back and say, hey, you aren't providing X or you're not providing Y, you've got some great documentation saying, no, we looked into options. This is as good as the industry gets. We're right in there with what most places are providing. So, again, a valuable service. So, again, if you're an employer and need to do a review, which you do, if that's been more than a few months, you probably want to take a look, see if there's something better that you can provide to your employees that maybe doesn't cost you anything more.
So again, I'd like to put you together with Erik to make that happen and do a plan level assessment for you as an employer. Erik, again, give me your phone number to make that happen.
303-586-5856.
And again, that's a free service. And if you choose to go with make a change, that's all great. But if not, you're at least dealing from a high level of knowledge and intelligence, which is a service we like to provide here on Real Estate Radio Denver. So again, you're listening to Real Estate Radio Denver here on News Talk 710 KNUS. I have with me Erik Utzinger with Transamerica Financial Advisors. And we're just talking about some financial health and helping you with some of those decisions. We've run through a lot of discussion here on particularly on that employer, those employer plans. In kind of closing, let's recap some of the things that we talked about, that you have some options to maybe move that money around. And I think that's big news. That probably most people don't think they have, and is worth checking out. So if you had to give anybody a piece of advice, you're talking to your family member or brother or sister here, what would you tell them to look for and look at in their employer-based plan, and what might trigger them to give you a call to have you do a review?
Sure. I'd say first and foremost, again, become familiar with their plan. It's not a scary endeavor. You just need a couple of pieces of information. One's the summary plan document, which kind of outlines the overall, do's and don'ts, options that you have available with inside the plan. And then also that new notice that you're supposed to be getting again on an annual basis called a 404A5 notice, which outlines the fees. And that's basically the basis that we use to run the personal expense ratio off of. So just become knowledgeable about your plan, the investments that are in it, and, have it be a good part of your overall financial picture.
You bet. So again, to do that, I'm going to give you the show number, 720-515-1818, 720-515-1818. Just send me a message that you'd like to chat with Erik Utzinger with Transamerica Financial Advisors, and I will put you guys together. With that all said, we've got a couple minutes left here. Let's just talk about, we started the show with kind of the first-time homeowners and, how to get off that fence with getting out of that rental situation. Start your financial future now versus going. If you had a single, and I'm throwing you under the bus here, but off the reservation for our script, but if you had a piece of advice to that new home buyer about starting their financial plan, how do they get in and build that with an advisor like you? What's their first step?
I would say just make that step, number one. I mean, anything Absolutely. That you can do that's proactive is better than, the metaphorical putting your head in the sand and doing nothing. So look and see what options you have available. It's not a ton of work. It doesn't take a ton of time to be able to just set those plans up and review them with somewhat regular frequency. Just, get off to the races.
Get started.
Yeah.
And I talked to a lot of people who have a lot of debt. They have a lot of, or maybe they have none. But you don't get to what your goal is unless you start.
Yeah, absolutely.
So that's the first step, is do something. And if that's, $50 a month in a mayonnaise jar, okay, make that happen. I wouldn't really advise that, but, it's better than spending every penny that you have. You should pay yourself first.
Well, and that's the thing. There's a sea of information that's out there, and it's really just trying to figure out what's applicable for my situation. What am I looking to be able to achieve? And that's really when we go to sit down with somebody, laying out what those objectives look like and making sure that you're taking the appropriate actions for them.
Right. And some of that is a big balance of everything that you've got coming into your life. Is it time to buy a home? Is it time to upgrade? Is it, are you properly, are you in the right mortgage? I can help you with that. Do I pay off my debt first? Do I save first? All of those questions that a good financial professional is going to help you with. And again, I encourage you, start a conversation with one. I truly believe Erik is a great one, and he can help you put that plan together, whether you're just starting or you have millions. It doesn't matter. he can help you advance that ball to whatever your next goal is.
Absolutely.
So again, off-air number 720-515-1818, 720-515-1818. Let me put you together with Erik. Thank you so much for listening today. I think we've had a good, informative show. If you're a renter, again, please text or leave me a message with what your rent is. My rent is $800. My rent is $1,200. I will help you to come to a number that says, hey, that amount of money is going to be this in a mortgage. Maybe it'll get you off that fence to buy. Now is the time. Thank you, Erik Utzinger, for coming in today.
Absolutely.
And hopefully we'll have you back quite often. We'll see you soon.
Thanks for having me.
Bye now.
Securities and investment advisory services offered through Transamerica Financial Advisors, Inc., TFA, Transamerica Financial Group Division, member FINRA, SIPC, and registered investment advisor. Non-securities products and services are not offered through TFA, 5350 South Roslyn Street, Suite 240D, Greenwood Village, Colorado, 80111, 303-586-5856, or 303-359-9503.